Liam, The Bodyguard in the Heir, Volume 2. Written by C.S. Luis. Narrated by Drew. Iraq. Liam. I can't get a clear shot from this distance, he said as I peered over the scope of my rifle, through the distant desert and into a village just beyond. We were shielded by a military tent. The only opening was a small rectangular window where our weapons could be mounted and aimed. What you fucking talking about? He's like... I peered over the side, immediately ducking down as a bullet blasted near my head. Yeah, he's quite a distance. I'll take your word on it, I said. Can you get him if I give you a clear shot, little bro? I asked. Nathan glared at me. He was 6 foot with dark blonde locks. His appearance mirrored mine in every way. Nathan had a blue cloth strapped to his helmet. Red was my color. Yeah, I know. Don't call you little, I laughed. Nathan narrowed his eyes back at me. I gave him a smile. In addition to so many physical similarities we shared, our voices were also nearly identical. It was sometimes creepy, mostly strange hearing my own voice answering back. Or bro, Nathan said. All right, Nate. So, can you? Come on. I'll put in a good word with that cute guy back on base. You know, the one that has his eyes on you, I said, grinning wide. He wrinkled an eyebrow as he wondered who I meant. I had a feeling he knew, though. He denied it, but I had seen him looking. Does he really? Nate asked. He didn't. He was actually into me. I wouldn't give him the time of day. I was hoping to pawn him off onto Nathan. No, but does it matter? You're a better talker, a true romantic from what I hear. Jeez, I went to bed with this guy one day. Now he's talking about getting together after we're released. Nate shook his head. Seriously, what do you have against relationships? Nothing. I just don't do relationships. You know that. He gave me a frown. Can we talk about it some other time? He finally asked. There was a sudden sound of heavy firing coming from the distance. 2 soldiers entered from the other end of the tent. Sergeant wants us to move out, one of them said. Grant's squadron has been boxed inside the village. They can't get out. They're pinned by heavy fire from all directions. Mason twins, your unit is up. I need you all out there, Sergeant said as he walked in with a group of men behind him. Pardon me, but what are we doing, Sergeant? You can't expect us to go out there. Rob spoke up. He was a little cowardly at times. He had been sitting at the far part of the tent taking a nap. He'd been so quiet, I had forgotten he had been there. Sergeant caught the sleep he was trying to shake and furrowed his eyes at him. I can't figure Rob out. I wondered if he was gay. Sometimes he would give me a look or brush up against me. But other times he boasted about how hot some chick in a magazine was. I had no issue with who I was. All our team knew my sexual orientation and had no problem with it. They shouldn't. It was fucking 2018. Get over it. I'd been contemplating asking him out. We're getting Grant's team out, Sergeant growled back at him. Rob swirled like a dried-up prune. Shit, Sergeant, they got snipers, RPGs, there's no fucking way we're gonna get through, Zach said. He was a young guy. He had been with us for 2 years. He knew his stuff, despite his age. He was handsome and handy with a gun. Too bad he was straight. He was married with twins, so we had that much in common. Zach, you're coming with me, I said. It seemed to put him at ease. He knew he could depend on me and Nate. Nate and I will go in first. We'll lay out cover fire and get in. Sergeant, we'll get Grant's team out. Nate nodded in agreement. He liked the action, knew the routine. We worked better together, and the team leader knew it. Zach, Rob, Jones, Gutierrez, and Peters, the Mason brothers will take the lead. Everyone got that? Sergeant yelled. The men nodded from their various positions around the tent. Their faces were full of exhaustion. We were all worn out. Dirt and sweat stained our cheeks and brows. The armor we carried was heavy. Vest, assault rifles, and ammo were all strapped to the already hefty uniform of a soldier in battle. I put on my helmet. Nathan mirrored the gesture. The sensation of seeing my own reflection caught me off guard for a moment. Others were often confused by who was who. That's why I started wearing a red bandana on the side of my helmet. "Let's get our boys. Head out," Sergeant yelled. The team moved out. I walked out alongside Nate. "Keep your eyes open," I uttered. Nate nodded. From the moment we approached the village, the snipers seemed to ease. It made Nate wary. It went down quickly. Getting there was easy. It was when we were close to the side wall enclosing the village that the heavy firing began. Grant's team was taking heavy fire. I could make them out, even from the distance separating us. Shit. We might have underestimated our enemy, Liam. "We need to fall back," Nate suggested. Men were dropping fast. I called for the RPGs, but our men were gunned down. "No, we got this, Nate," I yelled back over the heavy shooting. "It's a slaughter. They wanted to get us here. We need to fall back," Nate yelled. I dropped my head and narrowed my eyes over at him. He had that look in his eyes. It was no longer the situation that we were in my mind. All I could think about was that video chat I had overheard. "Why didn't you say anything? Did you know anything before that day?" I asked as the battle continued around us, the sound of bullets flying past our heads. Soldiers returned fire to no avail. "Didn't tell you what? What are you talking about? No what?" "You know what I'm talking about." "Shit, Liam. We have no time for this. We have to get out of here. Can't you see what's happening around us?" Nate called over the heavy firing. There was an explosion near the side wall that had protected us from the gun battle a few feet away. "Did you know about Mom before the video chat? Did you know she was sick?" I snarled back at him. He spun his head toward me. The men were yelling, firing over our heads. Zach came over with the RPGs. He was readying the weapon. There was a blast from behind the wall. "Sergeant!" I heard Rob on the radio. It was something about Grant's team. I slammed a hand over Nate's helmet to wake him. "Did you know she was dying of cancer?" I spat. A blast knocked the ground a few feet from us, knocking poor Zach to the dirt. Nate shook his head and dashed to the side of our friend. He was moving into open fire. My first reaction was to grab him and pull him back, but sometimes it seemed Nate had no fucking fear. I wondered if it was because of what I knew now. Mom was dying. I launched myself up from beside the wall and started shooting. An RPG blast fired from the opening on the helicopter above. It knocked the village's building like crumbling leaves off the branches of a tree. Our men had come to our aid just in time. They fired several rockets, knocking back the hostiles. I covered my brother as he kneeled near Zach. "Nate!" I called as I shielded him. I was watching the enemy fire. This was a bad place to be. We were completely out in the open. I looked back. There was blood everywhere. "We have to go!" I yelled over the chaos around us. "I can't just leave him." Fuck. Of course not. I bit my lip. The helicopter fired down at the enemy, covering the remaining part of our team. Grant's men wandered out as a Humvee pulled up and let them climb in. A few were carrying others, some lifeless, others limping alongside a shoulder for assistance. Shit. "Zach! Zach!" I heard Nathan's voice calling. There was no answer. Blood dripped down the side of his face. His hands were covered in it.